What is value? Define value for me. The first time I asked that question was about 16 years ago to a manager called Chris. He could sell exceptionally well, but he couldn't coach people. He didn't have a clue. So he thought about it, and then he actually said, I've never thought about it. And then he added, isn't it kind of what people are willing to pay for something? There's a return on investment. So without making him right or wrong, I just kept asking questions. Is it? What else is it? And no matter how many layers he added, he felt it was elusive, and he hadn't quite put his finger on it. Now, in business sense, we all comprehend value because we even give it a label, value proposition, right? But that does not explain why 80% of Australians, 80% of you guys donate money to charity every single year, $12.5 billion. In the United States, 72%, $323 billion, and it ain't all a tax write-off. So what's going on? Now, you could do what I did, right, which is years ago, I've got certain gospels of wisdom that I love, and one of them is the Oxford English Dictionary. Now, you can go there, as I did a long time ago, and you get lots of short answers, quite varied, some very subjective, but they lead you quite accurately to the conclusion that value is, indeed, perception. And everything I've learned in 21 years of working with people is we have specific facets or filters with which we look at our world. The risk when it comes to value is if we bias one, we alienate others, and we may hit or miss the value mark. So what I'm going to give you is a model for value so you can increase and expand your value perception. Now, we're going to start with the first one. It's the easiest one, and to be quite frank, it's the really boring one because it's the one associated with business. And to make it a little bit more lively, we're going to learn it through the power of rhyme. You see, you've just simply got dollars, percentages, numbers, and time is the tangible value nursery rhyme. But the metrics that matter are yours and not mine. You see, we get so focused on what we want and what we think is important, we forget to ask the other person. Find out what metrics are important to them and focus on that. Now, for the second quadrant, which is a lot more fun, I actually need you all to get involved. Now, I'm going to pitch you all as an audience an item. I'm going to pitch you it two ways. And your job, it's simple. It's safe from your chair. It's no risk. You just got to add a dollar value of worth to the item that I'm going to share with you. Now, because I don't mind working live with animals, I brought him here with me as well today. Let me tell you about the bear. The bear is a little over 100 years old. The bear has had 6 previous owners. The bear has got movable arms and movable legs. Pretty cute. And the thing I love most about the bear is when you tip him upside down and straighten him up, he moves. Maybe the front row would have heard it. So you've got a bear, 100 years old, 6 previous owners, movable arms and movable legs, and he moves or growls when you straighten him up. Talk to the person next to you, and I want to hear that chatter. 5 seconds. What's the value dollar you're going to give it? Share with the person next to you, please. Perfect. Noise is good. Okay, and let's come back. We're going to go version 2. I'm now going to pitch you the bear a second time. But in order to tell you about the bear, I'm going to kind of forget about Mr. Bear for a bit. Because I need to tell you about Marguerite. You see, Marguerite was born in Gingen in Germany in 1847. And at 18 months old, she suffered a high fever, which left her legs paralyzed and severe pain in her right arm. Not a great prognosis, but Marguerite had a zest for life. So she fought to lead a normal one. Her siblings would take her to school in a wheelbarrow cart, and she was carried into the classroom. By the age of 15, she could sew. By the age of 17, she was a seamstress. And not long after, she discovered these pincushions in the shape of elephants, and she had the remarkable, ingenious idea of turning them into children's toys. She did that. She took 2,000 to Leipzig in Germany, and they sold like hotcakes. Now, while that was going on in Germany, over here, in the United States of America, the sitting president was on a hunting trip, and he was asked to shoot an animal that was tethered to a tree. And he lowered his rifle and said, "That's not humane." Even though many other creatures fell to the crack of his rifle, that was to earn President Theodore Roosevelt the nickname Teddy Bear. And so the name teddy bear found itself attached to these amazing toys coming out of Germany. You see, Marguerite's last name is Steiff. Steiff bears are the original teddy bears. They're like the hierarchy, the aristocracy of the cuddly world. Like, they come with symbols and buttons in the ear, not finur, color coding, and some of them even have birth certificates so you know its provenance. Marguerite was to build a company as solid and concrete as her toys were soft. The reason that bear is a little over 100 years old is because it's one of the earliest 1909 models. The reason it's had only 6 previous owners is because you can only get it through auction or diligence of research or private sale. The reason it's got movable arms and movable legs is because Marguerite gave her toys a gift that she didn't have. And the reason it moves is a nice symbol of the animal's freedom cry. Now I'd like you to turn again to the person next to you and revalue the bear. What's the figure you're going to attach to the bear now? Take a few seconds, please. Let me hear the chatter. Excellent. Now, work with me here. Say yes from your chair if your value perception increased the second time round. Say yes, please. Yes. Thank you. See, generally we find that over 75% of people will increase their value perception the second time round. And what was that magic ingredient? You can whisper it so I can hear it. What was the magic secret ingredient that shifted that perspective? The story. You see, the power of the story is amazing and it does remarkable things. But it's not all of it. Now, who has got a picture that looks something like this on their fridge at home? Show of hands, please, if you've got a picture like this on the fridge at home. And yell out for me, who did that picture for you? Let me hear. Who did it for you? Grandson, granddaughters, niece, nephew. I did have one guy in an audience, and he put his hand up. I said, sir, who did yours? He said, mate, I don't know. I moved into a rental place, and the previous tenants had left it on the fridge. I kind of liked it, so I left it there. Other than that guy, which I love, and it just shows the energy that goes in these pictures, right? But other than that guy, there's a reason we value it so much, and that's because it was done just for you. Even though you look like a monster in the picture, it takes pride of place. Now, these two activities really help us discover the secrets of the ingredients of the second value quadrant, because that is emotional value. And with emotional value, it's very easy. It's story, senses, personal, and unique, like wow. If you want to tap emotional value, these are the 4 ways how. And then just add a tad of creativity for that extra wow. Speaking of which, I'm going to come off the red dot because I have to. Get ready. I'm going to throw something out into the darkness. Somebody please catch this. Who's got that item? Say yes. I can't see it. Somebody got that item, please. Okay, so here's the thing. Adding a tad of creativity, because here's the thing. We've got it? Okay. So here's why, is because when we go to the break, I want you to meet me in the break, and what we're going to do is you can trade me that little fella you've just caught for this little fella on screen. This is actually an original Steiff bear from the 1926 rerun. It is a limited edition of one of 926 of them in the world, and if you meet me in the reception at break, I'm going to trade you that little bear, and this is yours to take home with you. Because unexpected value, unexpected time, like the movie Finding Forrest, right? That's the secret to somebody's heart. That's the key to get into their heart. Now, there's a quote I've always absolutely loved. Service to others is the rent you pay for your room here on earth. Service to others is the rent you pay for your room here on earth, by Muhammad Ali. I love it because I've come from a background of tourism and travel, and it's real. I'm only with you today in Casey because drivers drove me, and pilots flew me, and hotels host me, and a watchmaker made a nice watch that keeps me on time. We're all being of service. I'm that annoying guy on the bus that yells halfway down the bus, "Thanks, driver." I'm the guy that says thanks to the person at the till, even though they're not looking at me, to shock them back into being present, because we're all being of service. And service value is a really critical piece of the puzzle of the value quadrant. Now, with service value, this requires asking of ourselves 4 dichotomic, self-reflective questions. Is what I'm doing delivering solutions, or is it adding to the problem? Is what I'm doing creating long-term positive possibilities, or does it have negative consequences? Is what I'm doing great for others and the community and not just myself? And does it nurture and respect our environment rather than wreck it? Now, this is where there is absolutely, in the work I've done, there's a link between values and value. Whilst people may well make a purchasing decision linked with their values, not always. You know, tourism, the ecosystem of tourism is responsible for 8% of the carbon dioxide emissions. Of that, aviation is responsible for 2% of it. Yet how many people opt in to pay the extra $1 to offset their footprint every time they fly? A little over 1%. How many people say no to that single-use plastic bag? Corporate social responsibility and community social responsibility are essential to service value because that is what educates people and it allows them to make those choices far more easily. The 4th quadrant, because if there is an ace card amidst this, it has to be the 4th quadrant for sure. There's this a story from Leonard Zunin, Alice Walker, Wayne Dyer, all reference this tribe where when somebody in the tribe did something irresponsible, they'd be placed in the center of a circle. The rest of the tribe would gather around them and take it in turns to address them one at a time. But what they would do would be to remind that person of the good deeds they conducted in their lifetime. The focus was on the positive. Now, in my own research, I find that this could be a mix of traditions. But regardless, it doesn't stop it going viral because there's something about it that we wish were true even if it wasn't. Me personally, I love a tradition, and it comes from Native American Indians in North America. They had a tradition of making dream catchers. The webs were weaved to filter out the bad dreams, the feathers and charms to capture the good. So a child would only go into action in their waking life with their positive ideas driving their choices. And I work in human development. I absolutely love that. It inspires me. It inspires me so much, I actually hand-make dream catchers, and I give them away. And I did find time to make one just for the occasion here for Macy from Casey, who gave me that beautiful picture before, and I did it in her favorite color of pink with a subtle inclusion of 2 hands. See, relationship value is that ace. If I bring this back to the real world now, in business and the land of TED, Jack Welch termed something in business the biggest dirty little secret in business. And I love that moniker. You just want to know what it is, right? What's this big dirty little secret? It was a lack of candor because it kills absolutely everything. Kim Scott called candor radical. Brene Brown's talk, right, on the power of vulnerability and authenticity, I love that talk because it's got relevance to this quadrant. And possibly my favorite TED talk by Robert Waldinger, who was the 4th director of the longest study on human happiness and fulfillment, which has gone for longer than 75 years. And from that, they distilled down. The secret to a happy life was one thing. And it matches with something I have. That one thing is one of 2 common languages that all of us speak. We live on a planet with approximately 8,000 languages. Half the planet claim the top 10 as their native mother tongue. And none of those are the 2 common ones that all of us speak. Because the 2 common languages are subtle. They're not encumbered by words and vocabulary. They're action. You display them. And in fact, expensive words lose value and become worthless when they're not backed up with congruent action. Because those 2 common languages are kindness and love. Kindness and love are languages the deaf can hear, the blind can see, and they add value to absolutely every space that they're delivered in. And our 4th quadrant, for relationship ace traits, choose your own if you must, but be candid and brave with those 2 common languages of kindness and love. Because quality of character and value, they go together like 2 hands in gloves. Now, relationship value, this is kind of brings us full circle back to the whole model. You know, you can layer this model on anything, well, business or initiatives, and you can see that where there's lots of value built, the idea takes off. The world of digital, social media, people get behind it. Conversely, where value is not perceived, the idea doesn't get traction. And there is such a thing as negative value. If we think the effort and resources is not worth it, we're not going to do it. Or if we have a negative story running, in the case of social, trust and privacy, the value of that drops off. And so you can layer it to that. In preparing for this particular TEDx event, from the very get-go, when I heard of what the theme was, being two hands, it really made me think of one iconic epitome of class. And there's only one, and that's Audrey Hepburn. She was magnificent. And one of my favorite quotes from Audrey Hepburn is, as you grow older, you'll discover you've got two hands. One to help yourself, and one to help others. When it comes to value, I would say use your head and your heart and those two hands to be of service with kindness and love, because that's how you add value. If you come full circle and you combine all of that together, a model that gives you something you can work with when you leave here tonight is tangible value. Find out what metrics are important to me and prove that to me. Show me. Emotional value. Tell me an amazing story, ignite my senses, personalize it, and make me go, wow. Service value. Do all of that thinking long-term, positive possibilities for everybody else and not yourself. And relationship value, do all of that, the best version of yourself with kindness and love. And ask yourself 3 questions. Which facet or quadrant do you have a tendency to bias? Which quadrants or facets do you have a tendency to omit? And how can you put yourself in somebody else's shoes to understand their perspective of value? I guess, coming full circle and in closing, it makes me think of one last genius, which is Albert Einstein. And because the actual definition of the word value goes back to Latin valer and Middle France, valoir. And Einstein, who was a genius, said, try not to be a person of success. Try instead to be a person of value. And whatever you do tonight when you leave here, go fill those value buckets. Thank you very much.